So most people know that Chuck Yeager was the first person to break the sound barrier. But did he do that on his first flight in the Bell X-1? Common sense would say no, and that is correct, he did not. But what did happen that first powered flight in the Bell X-1? Let's find out.
Welcome to a place where design meets fun, where crazy ideas are the norm, and failure is just an exciting adventure, where the fun had and the memories made are the measures of success. Welcome to Ascend RC.
Hi, welcome to Ascend RC. My name is Daniel. So last night I was reading in this book, Yeager, which is it's an autobiography by Chuck Yeager, and he goes over the story about his first powered flight in the Bell X-1 rocket plane. So he had done a number of glide flights in this airplane and getting ready to do some powered flights. He was not the first person to do powered flights in this plane, but they had selected him to continue the program, and he got familiar with the aircraft, got familiar with the gliding of it, so he could go land it after the rocket engines either burned out or he shut them off. And then the day of actually doing the first powered flight comes along. Now, the flight plan did not call to break the sound barrier, even to try to. The fastest that the X-1 had gone up to that point was 0.8 Mach. And they had decided that he would go to 0.82 Mach. So, reasonable increase, and they wanted to do incremental increases to slowly push up against that barrier because it was all of the transitions and shockwave issues as you approach the speed of sound that was causing issues in all the testing that was being done at the time for supersonic flight. So that's where we pick this up, and a little more backstory. The X-1 is slung under a B-29 which climbs up to about 25,000 feet, goes into a shallow dive to pick up enough speed to get above the stall speed of the X-1 before dropping it. And somebody that you may recognize the name of, Bob Hoover, was flying chase in a P-80 shooting star, and he was doing high chase, which is he was 10 miles downrange and 40,000 feet. And his goal would be to have something for Chuck to aim at as he's going. He would fly by him, and then once his flight was done, Bob Hoover would form up on the X-1's wing and be chase the chase aircraft all the way down to landing for the X-1. So that was the plan, and that's the setup. So let's pick up the story here. Crack. The bomb shackle release jolts you up from your seat, and as you sail out of the dark bomb bay, the sun explodes in brightness. You're looking into the sky. Wrong. You should be dropped level. The dive speed was too slow, and they dropped you in a nose-up stall. You blink to get your vision, fighting the stall with your control wheel, dropping toward the basement like an elevator whose cable snapped. You're 3,000 pounds heavier than in those glide flights. Down goes that nose, and you pick up speed. You level out about 1,000 feet below the mothership and reach for that rocket igniter switch. The moment of truth. If you're going to be blown up, this is likely to be when. You light the first chamber. Whoosh. Slammed back in your seat. A tremendous kick in the butt. Nose up and hold on. Barely a sound. You can hear your breathing in the oxygen mask. You're outracing the noise behind you, and for the first time in a powered airplane, you hear the air beating against the windshield as the distant dot that is Hoover's high chase P-80 grows ever bigger. You pass him like he's standing still, and he reports seeing diamond-shaped shockwaves leaping out of your fiery exhaust, climbing faster than you can even think, but using only one of 4 rocket chambers. You turn it off and light another. We're streaking up at 0.7 Mach. This beast's power is awesome. You've never known such a feeling of speed while pointing up in the sky. At 45,000 feet, where morning resembles the beginning of dusk, you turn on the last of the 4 chambers. God, what a ride. and you still have nearly half your fuel left. Until this moment, you obeyed the flight plan to the letter, firing only one chamber at a time, to closely monitor the chamber pressures. If you use 2 or more, there's too much to watch. If you fire all 4, you may accelerate too rapidly, be forced to raise your nose to slow down, and get yourself into a high-speed stall. Now the flight plan calls for you to jetson remaining fuel and glide down to land, but you're bug-eyed, thrilled to your toes, and the fighter jock takes over from the cautious test pilot. Screw it. You're up there in the dark part of the sky in the most fabulous flying machine that ever built, and you're just not ready to go home. The moment calls for a nice slow roll, and you lower your wing, pulling a couple of G's until you're hanging upside down in 0 G's, and the engine quits. As soon as the X-1 rights itself, it starts again, but you've been stupid. At 0 G's, the fuel couldn't feed the engine, and you might have been blown up. But the X-1 is forgiving this time. You know what you're supposed to do, but you know what you're going to do. You turn off the engine, but instead of jetsoning the remaining fuel, you roll over and dive for Muroc Air Base. We blister down, really heavy, 0.8 Mach in front of the needle. A dive glide faster than most jets at full power. You're thinking, let's show those guys the real X-1. Below 10,000 feet is the danger zone, the limit for jetsoning fuel with enough maneuver time to glide down to a safe landing. But we're below 5,000, lined up with Muroc's main runway, and we're still in a dive. We whistle down that main runway, only 300 feet off the ground, until we are parallel with the control tower. You hit the main rocket switch. The 4 chambers blow, a 30-foot lick of flame. The impact nearly knocks you back into last week. That nose is pointed so straight up that you can't see the blue sky out the windshield. You are no longer an airplane. We're a skyrocket. You're not flying. You're holding on to the tiger's tail. Straight up, you're going 0.75 Mach. In 1 minute, the fuel is gone. By then, you're at 35,000 feet, traveling at 0.85 Mach. You're so excited, scared, and thrilled that you can't say a word until the next day. So, what an amazing story, right? So, this is his first time doing a powered flight in this airplane. And, like, in and of itself, that is such an amazing thing because it's a rocket plane, okay? And he is flying faster than he's ever flown before. The flight plan called to go up to 0.82 Mach, and which would be the fastest that plane had been at that point. And, you know, that was only on 1 rocket chamber each time. He uses about half the fuel. He's supposed to jetson it off. Doesn't. Dives it. He gets down below where he's screwed. He can't do anything except for fire the rockets, which is what he wanted to do anyway. Gets down there, buzzes the base, and then fires all 4. He'd only fired 1 at a time up to that point. Fires all 4 300 feet off the deck, and then just climbs to 35,000 feet. Like, just so amazing. So, like, you know, Chuck Yeager's a very interesting guy. Very colorful. I actually did modify what I read slightly. There were a few words that I didn't want to use to keep this family friendly. He was a very colorful character and excellent pilot. Like, top notch. Arguably one of the best or the best pilot to come out of World War II. He flew P-51 Mustangs in the Second World War over Europe, was actually shot down, and continued to fly through the end of the war. He could do such precise maneuvering of aircraft, and so he was such at home in an airplane, and really enjoyed flying. He loved it, absolutely loved it, and that's kind of comes out in this story. And I've never heard this story. I think that's amazing. That excites me so much, and not necessarily from he broke the rules. He did get in trouble, but you know they used him for continuing the program and continuing to fly, obviously. And he went on from there to break the sound record or the sound barrier, and then go on up. I believe they ended up stopping at like 1.4 Mach or something like that with this particular plane. Though don't quote me on that. But like, just, that's so amazing. And what would that have been to watch, you know? Like, think of Bob Hoover. You know, he's 10 miles downrange, 40,000 feet. You know, Chuck ignites the rockets at 24,000 feet. He said he dropped 1,000 feet from when they dropped him at 25. And just blows right by Bob Hoover, who's not in a slow plane. And, you know, Bob's able to watch him the whole way up. When the engine shuts off at last, you know, he's supposed to jettison fuel, glide down. Bob's supposed to actually form up on his wing and follow him all the way into landing. Instead, he rolls, dives. I'm sure Bob chased him down, trying to catch him. He can't catch him. He's, you know, full throttle. He can't dive that fast. But he's able to watch him go the whole way, able to watch him buzz the airfield, ignite all 4 rocket engines, pull vertical, and then just climb. And, you know, at that point, I'm sure Hoover was 10,000 feet or something like that. And then, you know, and Chuck just pulls vertical, blasting past his altitude up to 35,000 feet again. Just like, I don't know, the adventure of that, the sensations, just the freedom of flight really comes out in that story. And I don't know, that excites me. And I'm not one to take risks. Like, that was a huge risk. And I'm not one to break the rules, but, like, I don't know. I think that's a really cool story. Yeah, it was really neat. I highly recommend this book, Yeager, and written by Chuck Yeager and Leo Janos. Go read it. It's really cool. If you like flight at all. Yeah, so hope you enjoy that story. I just had to come share it with you. And you have a good one.